Today, we're talking about the Byford Dolphin accident, one of the most horrifying industrial disasters in history. 5 men gone in an instant, their bodies torn apart by forces beyond human comprehension. This is the terrifying story of what happened, how it happened, and the tragic mistakes that led to one of the most gruesome deaths imaginable. The Byford Dolphin was a semi-submersible oil rig that operated in the North Sea. Built in 1974, it was used for deep-sea drilling and, more importantly, for saturation diving, an extreme type of diving where workers live in a pressurized chamber to withstand the crushing depths of the ocean. These divers played a crucial role. They worked at depths of up to 300 meters, almost 1,000 feet, below the surface. At these depths, the pressure is nearly 30 times that of the surface, making normal diving impossible. To survive and work in such conditions, divers relied on a technique called saturation diving. They lived for weeks inside small, pressurized chambers, breathing a carefully controlled mix of helium and oxygen to prevent nitrogen narcosis, a condition that can cause confusion, unconsciousness, and even death. Getting down to the ocean floor required a diving bell, a sealed chamber that transported divers from the surface to the depths. This bell was pressurized to match the environment, preventing lethal decompression sickness when they moved between the surface and their work site. But working under such extreme conditions means one small mistake can lead to absolute catastrophe. And that's exactly what happened on November 5th, 1983. A team of divers had just returned from a deep-sea mission and were inside the hyperbaric chamber system, decompressing. The chamber was designed to slowly bring their bodies back to normal atmospheric pressure. Inside the chamber were 4 experienced divers: Edwin Coward, Bjorn Bergersen, Truls Hellevik, and Roy Lucas. Outside the chamber, 2 dive tenders, William Crammond and Martin Saunders, were assisting with the procedure. Their job was to ensure the divers transitioned safely between compartments. The process required careful coordination. At this point, 2 of the divers, Hellevik and Bergersen, were in a transfer capsule which was connected to the main chamber. This capsule was supposed to be detached and moved to another part of the system. Then came the fatal mistake. William Crammond, one of the tenders, prematurely released a clamp that was keeping the chamber sealed. In an instant, the pressure inside the chamber, 9 times that of normal atmospheric pressure, dropped to just 1. The force of the decompression didn't just kill the divers inside, it also struck the 2 tenders outside. Crammond, who had been standing right next to the chamber door, took the full force of the blast. The sudden pressure shift violently threw him backward, causing fatal injuries. He died instantly. Martin Saunders, standing slightly further away, was luckier, but just barely. The decompression wave still hit him with tremendous force, leaving him with severe injuries, including broken bones and internal trauma. He was rushed to medical treatment and, despite a long and painful recovery, he survived. The accident had taken 5 lives in total and left another permanently scarred. William Crammond was an experienced tender, but the Byford Dolphin system lacked key safety features. Unlike other rigs that had fail-safe mechanisms preventing premature clamp release, the Byford Dolphin relied solely on manual operation. This meant that human error was always a risk. Investigations suggested that Crammond may have been following normal procedures, but misjudged the sequence due to fatigue, stress, or miscommunication. The high-pressure environment of the oil rig, both literally and figuratively, made errors more likely. Additionally, there were reports that crew members often worked long shifts under immense pressure, increasing the chance of mistakes. This was not an isolated incident of safety oversights. The rig had a history of lacking proper fail-safe systems, and many argued that Crammond's mistake was not entirely his fault. It was the result of an unsafe working environment. The human body is not designed to handle that kind of pressure change. What happened next was almost beyond comprehension. The 4 divers inside the chamber suffered one of the most violent decompressions ever recorded. The gases inside their bodies expanded instantly. Their organs ruptured, their blood boiled, and their bodies were ripped apart. Truls Hellevik, closest to the opening, suffered the worst fate. His body was expelled through a hole that was only a few inches wide, causing catastrophic injuries. His remains were found scattered outside the chamber. The others suffered massive internal trauma. The rapid expansion of gases in their bloodstream caused their chests to burst open, and their limbs twisted unnaturally. At a depth of 300 meters, the human body is under enormous pressure. The air we breathe at those depths is carefully balanced to prevent nitrogen narcosis and oxygen toxicity. When that balance is suddenly disrupted, the results are devastating. Decompression needs to be gradual to allow the body time to safely release built-up gases. If pressure drops too fast, gas bubbles form in the blood, expanding and causing deadly embolisms. The human body essentially becomes a pressurized container, and when it decompresses too quickly, the results are explosive. This was not just a freak accident, it was preventable. The Byford Dolphin lacked a crucial safety feature, an interlocking mechanism that would have prevented the chamber from being opened prematurely. Many similar rigs had these systems in place, but for some reason, the Byford Dolphin did not. Investigators later concluded that if proper safety measures had been followed, those 5 men might still be alive today. After the accident, new safety regulations were introduced, requiring all hyperbaric chambers to have fail-safe locks. But it came too late for those lost on the Byford Dolphin. The rig itself continued operating until 2019, when it was finally scrapped. But for those in the diving industry, the memory of that day never faded. What happened on the Byford Dolphin is one of the most violent and terrifying ways a person can die. Instant decompression is a nightmare beyond imagination, and for these 5 men, it became reality. What do you think? Was this a tragic accident or a failure of safety regulations? Let me know in the comments. And if you want more real-life horror stories, make sure to subscribe.